My very first job was in 2002. I worked the graveyard shift at a call center located in Makati, in a newly established office. The layout of the place was unique, shaped like a stretched-out donut. The elevator lobby and main doors sat in the center of the donut hole, while the actual office space wrapped around it in a rectangular loop made of 2 long hallways and 2 shorter ones. Only half of the office was finished and operational. The other half was still under construction. One long side of the loop housed the production floor. It was bright, fully functional, and included our workstations, the manager's offices, and a small pantry. The other side of the office, however, was an entirely different story. That half was supposed to contain things like conference rooms, storage, admin areas, restrooms, and the nurse's office, but it was far from ready. The floors were bare concrete, wall sockets had wires sticking out, and most of the lighting wasn't even installed yet. To save electricity, the building guards would switch off the lights entirely on that unfinished side. Since no one worked there, they figured there was no point in keeping it lit. Because of this, the entire wing had a cold, abandoned atmosphere. Anyone who had to use the restroom over there usually made a quick, nervous dash to and from it. About 2 weeks into the job, one of my teammates, who had already been showing signs of being unwell, started complaining of a severe migraine. I told her to let our team leader know, and when she did, he told her to head to the nurse's office to lie down for a bit. We knew where it was, or at least where it was supposed to be, because of the sign above the door that we saw every time we passed the hallway on our way to the restroom. Our TL told me to accompany her, so I did. Together, we made our way into the dark, unfinished half of the office toward the nurse's office. Oddly enough, the lights in the nurse's room were on, but the door was locked. It had one of those vertical rectangular windows built into it, so we peeked in to see if anyone was inside. The room was lit, and everything looked exactly how you'd expect. A sickbed, a desk, medical cabinets, even the standard equipment laid out neatly. But there was no nurse. Assuming the nurse had just stepped out on a break, we returned to the production area and decided to come back later. Roughly 30 minutes later, we walked back to check. This time, the hallway was darker and the nurse's office light was off. We were frustrated, assuming the shift nurse had possibly gone home without informing anyone. Still, we checked the door to see if there was a posted schedule or sign. I don't know what prompted me to do it, but I reached out and tried the doorknob, even though the lights were off. It turned, the door opened, and we both froze. There was no clinic, no bed, no cabinets, no equipment. The room was bare, unfinished concrete walls and floors, not even paint. The only light came from a dim nightlight plugged into a nearby exposed socket. It barely illuminated the space. We were certain this was the same room, the same door, the same sign above it, still labeling it as the nurse's station. We checked the sign again over and over. It hadn't changed. It was the same place where we'd seen a fully equipped clinic just half an hour earlier. We stood there in stunned silence, trying to make sense of what we were seeing. That's when a security guard approached us. He asked what we were doing poking around an unfinished room in the dark. We told him everything. How we had seen the lights on, seen a furnished clinic through the window, and how the room was now just a concrete shell. He gave us that look people give when they think you're making something up. But as we tried to convince him, something changed. Suddenly the temperature dropped. It wasn't subtle, it was immediate and undeniable, a bone-deep cold. We all shivered at once. I felt goosebumps rise on my arms and the air felt dense, heavy. My heart pounded, nobody spoke. Then my teammate burst into uncontrollable tears, loud gasping sobs. Her body was trembling. The guard quickly reacted, nervously shutting and locking the door. He didn't say anything else, just urged us to head back. We returned to our team section of the office. When we explained what had happened, our team leader sat there completely stunned. He didn't speak for a while. My teammate, still sobbing and hyperventilating, had to be taken to Makati Med. The incident was never spoken of again. Years ago, I worked security at an office building in Midtown Manhattan. It was a quiet job for the most part. Long hours in the lobby, a lot of standing around, very little excitement. That changed one cold Monday in mid-November. One of the upper floor offices, a dermatology clinic, had sent someone down to the basement to grab some Christmas decorations from storage. But they came back saying the basement lights were out and the elevator wouldn't go down to that floor. That alone wasn't my problem, but then I was told several storage room doors down there looked like they had been forced open. Suddenly it was my problem. With the elevator out, I had to take the stairs. And since I was the only security guard on duty that day, I went down alone, with just a flashlight and a growing sense of dread. The basement was a maze of concrete corridors packed with storage spaces for the different businesses in the building. There was also janitorial and electrical equipment stored down there. It was silent except for the faint hum of the building's guts, pipes, maybe a boiler. Navigating that space in pitch black with nothing but a beam of light was unnerving. As I moved through the corridors, I checked the storage room doors. Sure enough, a number of them were busted in. Some of them so badly damaged they looked like someone had taken an axe to them. Supplies inside seemed untouched though, which only made it stranger. Whoever broke in didn't seem interested in stealing anything. Then I heard it. A slam echoed from somewhere deeper in the basement, and just like that, all the ambient noise stopped. The mechanical hum, the water in the pipes, everything. I was standing in total silence, and suddenly every footstep I took sounded 10 times louder. Someone was still down there. I called out, "Anyone here?" My voice bouncing off the walls. No response. I turned and started slowly heading back toward the stairs. I wasn't paid enough to be the hero here. This was a job for the NYPD. But just as I was nearing the final turn before the stairwell, I heard something. Heavy breathing. It was coming from just around the corner, slow and deep and unmistakably human. My stomach dropped. I turned off my flashlight and crept forward just enough to peek. The breathing stopped. I cautiously whispered, "Hello?" and flicked my flashlight back on. And that's when I saw it, a tall, hunched-over figure facing the wall. He held something long in his hand, maybe a crowbar or an axe. I couldn't tell. But I could tell it was a man. No woman was built like that. The figure's face turned toward me, long, pale, stretched unnaturally and bald. I didn't wait for anything else. I bolted past him, sprinting up the stairs and yelling, "The cops are coming, you need to leave now." My voice cracked as I ran up flight after flight, not daring to look back. I made it to the lobby, locked the basement door behind me, and called 911. NYPD arrived fast. 4 officers went down there armed and ready, but they didn't come back with anyone. An electrician showed up and found the circuit box had been tampered with, explaining the power outage. With the lights back on, officers searched again, still nothing. No trace of the man. He must have escaped using one of the other stairwells while I was running for my life. No one doubted me. Those doors didn't smash themselves in. I took a few sick days after that, and for the next week I barely slept. Every night I found myself staring into the corners of my dark room, afraid that the tall figure from the basement would somehow be waiting there, breathing and watching. I work at a game development company in Orlando, Florida. A few weeks ago, things were extremely hectic. We were nearing a major deadline, and the pressure was intense. I was putting in late nights nearly every day just to stay on track. It was a rainy Wednesday night, pitch black outside except for the occasional flash of lightning. The steady sound of rain tapping against my office window actually helped me focus as I chipped away at my coding. Only one other person was still around, my coworker, Chaz, also scrambling to finish his work before the deadline. Sometime between 8 and 9 p.m., Chaz knocked on my door and said he was heading out. He asked if I was okay to lock up, and I told him I had it covered. I heard the front door close behind him, and just like that, I was alone. Our office is shaped like an L. My office sits down the shorter end, essentially in the corner furthest from the entrance. I started feeling a bit drowsy, so I walked to the kitchen to reheat some coffee, just enough to keep me going for another hour or so. As I leaned on the counter waiting for it to warm up, I suddenly heard a door shut. Not the heavy front door. This was softer, like one of the interior office doors. I peered down the hallway and called out, but got no response. Curious and a little on edge, I walked both halls, checking the doors. All of them were locked. But when I reached my hallway, I saw something strange. My office door, which I had definitely left open, was now closed. All the windows were shut. There was no draft. At this point, I figured Chaz might have come back to mess with me. I flung my door open, expecting to catch him hiding inside, but the room was empty. Everything exactly where I'd left it. Weirded out, but trying to stay rational, I sat back down and kept working. Outside, the storm raged on. Thunder rolled and lightning flashed every minute or so, startling me each time. Eventually, I wrapped up my progress and started shutting down my computer. I clicked shut down, turned off the monitor, and then I saw it. Reflected in the black screen was the unmistakable silhouette of a woman standing behind me. I didn't scream. I didn't even turn around. My heart dropped to my stomach. Trying to stay calm, I grabbed my bag, stood up, and walked to the door, pretending like I hadn't seen anything. Once I felt like I had enough distance, I sprinted through the hall, down the stairs, and out into the pouring rain to my car. I was terrified she might be right behind me the whole way. Once in my car, I caught my breath and looked back up at my office window. The light was still on, and I swear one of the blinds was slightly bent, as if someone was standing behind it watching me. I called my boss, Miranda, and told her everything. She confirmed no one else should have been there and said she'd contact the night security guard to check the office. Later, Miranda called back. The guard didn't find anyone. I explained again what I'd seen, and even she sounded unsettled. There's only one camera in the entire office, located at the end of the long hallway near the kitchen. The footage showed nothing. No woman, no movement, nothing at all.